Paramahamsa Pavikarajacharya Shata Shata Shishiman, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Shata Shata Shishiman, Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki, Namacharya Srila Haras Thakur Ki, Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Ki Shri Mayapur Amrita Dham Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Ganga Maya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Texts 11 to 13. So, all right, we'll chant 13 together, and then I'll continue. So, word for word. Samvaram, Dvividam, Banam, Muram, Balvalam, Eva, Cha, Anyan, Cha, Dantavakra, Adin, Avadit, Khan, Cha, Gatayat. Samvaram Dvividam Banam Muram Balvalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantava Kradin Avadhit Kamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dividam Banam Muram Balavam Evacha Anyamscha Dantava Kradin Avadit Kamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dividam Banam Muram Balvam Muram Balvalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantava Kradin Avadit Kamscha Gatayat
Shambharam Vividambanam shagatayat avadekam shagatayat Shambaram Dvividambanam Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat
Mataji's.
Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat Shambaram Dvividambanam Uram Bhagalam Evacha Anyamscha Dantavakradin Avaditkamscha Gatayat.
Okay, so word for word translation. Okay, Sambaram, Shambar, Dividam, Divida, Banam, Bana, Muram, Mura, Balvalam, Balvala, Evacha, as also, Anyan, others, Cha, also, Dantavakradin, like Dantavakra and others. Avadit, killed. Khan, Cha, and many others. Ghatayat, caused to be killed. Okay, so translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Of kings like Shambar, Dvivida, Bana, Mura, Balvala, and many other demons such as Dantavakra, some he killed himself, and some he caused to be killed by others, Shri Baladev, etc. Text 12. Atate Bratri Putranam Pakshayo Patitanripan Chachala Bhu Kurukshetram Yesham Apatatam Balaihi. Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the war field. Text 13. Sakarna dushasana saubalanam kumantra pakena hatashriyash yusam suyodanam sanucharam sayanam bhagnorum urvyam nanananda pashyan. Duryodhana was bereft of his fortune and duration of life because of the intricacy of ill advice given by Karna, Dushasana, and Sobala. When he lay on the ground with his followers, his thighs broken, although he was powerful, the Lord was not happy to see the scene. The fall of Duryodhana, the leading son of Dhritarashtra, was not pleasing to the Lord. Although he was on the side of Arjuna, it was he who advised Bhima how to break the thighs of Duryodhana while the fighting was going on. The Lord is constrained to award punishment upon the wrongdoer, but he is not happy to award such punishments because the living entities are originally his parts and parcels. He is harder than the thunderbolt for the wrongdoer and softer than the roge for the faithful. The wrongdoer is misled by bad associates and by ill advice, which is against the established principles of the Lord's order, and thus he becomes subject to punishment. The surest path to happiness is to live by the principles laid down by the Lord and not disobey his established laws, which are enacted in the Vedas and Puranas for the forgetful living entities. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Gananjanjana Shalakaya Chakshoramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shukta Panakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamam Sha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raganavtam Mitam Tam Shajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishnapadan Sahagana Laritam Shri Vishakamitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikas Swami Niti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivisheshu Shunivari Paskatara Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll just read through the translations here again real quick. So of kings like Sambara, Dvivida, Bana, Mura, Balvala, and many other demons such as Dantavakra, some he killed himself and some he caused to be killed by others, Sri Baladev, etc. Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in that battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the war field. And then the text, main one. So Duryodhana was bereft of his fortune and duration of life because of the intricacy of ill advice given by Karna, Dushashan, and Sobala. When he lay on the ground with his followers, his thighs broken, although he was powerful, the Lord was not happy to see the scene. So let's see here. So the first verse is kind of, I think that is going off a previous verse talking about how the verse number 10 that Krishna killed some people personally, and then some he empowered others to do so, and then that was mentioned with Jarasandha that he employed Bhima, and then also Muchukunda was used to kill, given the opportunity to kill, was it Kalyavana? So this verse number 11, that's also mentioned. There's some names given here of different demons, and then they were slaved by different devotees. Does anybody remember who was Sambara was killed by? That might be a tricky one for most anybody. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that whole pastime is given. So I won't get so much into all of these different demons, but Sambara he entered into Dwarka somehow, and then he grabbed Pradyumna and threw him in the ocean because somehow that he got it's like it's like kind of like the same thing. You see what like Kamsa. Somehow that he understood that Pradyumna would kill him, and so he's thinking, well, I'll kill him first. Which makes sense. And so he threw him in the ocean, and that's like pretty like deed is done, like it's finished, like that. Ain't no getting out of that one. And so he left, and then Pradyumna by there's that saying that if someone wants to kill Krishna, no one can protect him, and if Krishna wants to save anybody, nobody can kill him. So it wasn't Pradyumna's time to die. And so a fish gobbled him up. And then by the arrangement of the Lord, that fish wound up in Sambara's kitchen. And so they were preparing that fish according to, anyways, whatever. They were preparing that fish, and then when they opened it, they realized there was a baby in there. And there's actually a picture of that. It's a nice picture. I was looking at that the other day. A side note about that picture, I noticed that with Mitravan the other day. It was surprising, but there's a cat in that picture also, kind of like clawing up, like I guess because there's a fish there or something. Anyways, it's some random little detail. But so they found that baby in the fish, and I think, what was her name, Mayavati? She was the wife of Pradyumna in a previous life. So anyway, so she took care of that baby and raised him up, and he grew up quick. Are you pulling out that picture? And you can see that cat at the bottom also. So they were, anyways, there's a lot that could be said about that, but we'll save that for another class. So they were shocked. And it is shocking, actually. It's like they're preparing a fish, and then there's a baby inside. And then the baby's alive also. It's like, what are the chances of that? So she took up that service and raised Pradyumna. He grew up pretty quick. And then, then somehow I forget all the details. But anyways, he, fulfilled the prophecy and killed Sambara. And it's actually interesting if you read it. When I first read that pastime, I was like, wow, this is like amazing. And so he goes and he challenges Sambara, and he says all this heavy stuff to him, you nonsense, I'm going to kill you. And then Sambara's fried out, and he gets up and he's like, I'm going to kill you. And so they fight and stuff like that, and then actually fly into the sky. It's some crazy mystical fight. And so when I was reading that at first, I was like, this is wild. I was like something I read growing up, a comic book or something. So then it's that, and then it's described that Sambara, he knew, I forget the Sanskrit terms exactly, but he had the power of Maya or something like that. He knew the dark arts, so he started casting mystic dark arts. But then Pradyumna knew the other of that, which he knew whatever, I guess the light arts. So it said something like that actually. I'm not making this up. It's from Prabhupada's books. And so anyways, he defeated them because that mystic power is greater than this Maya or whatever like that. And so I think he cut off his head. And then he came back, and then that whole story is given there, that Rukmini, the residents saw him, and they thought, well, he looked like Krishna, but there's a little bit different. There's some little differences. And then Rukmini, milk began to flow from her breast. So then she understood that this was her son that had been kidnapped. And so that's how that goes. So Krishna empowered Pradyumna to kill Sambara, and then Dvita also. That's a very famous pastime. That'll probably be discussed more next week. I won't mention so much about that because next week is Balaram Purnima. So Balaram killed Dvita. Dvita was an associate of Lord Ramachandra, but our acharyas describe that due to bad association, he became wicked, and there was some change in his character, which is relevant to this verse today also because it's talking about bad association. Banasura also, he got puffed up, with his 1,000 hands, and then Krishna severed most of them to curb his pride. The Mora demon is there, Balava, and many others. So many can be named, Dantavakra and some. So there's so many demons that Krishna killed or caused others to be killed. So that's kind of that verse there. And then continuing, so the Kurukshetra. So Krishna assembled he set the ground for the Kurukshetra war to happen to allow so many different people to come to one place so they could pretty much be killed, because one of the purposes of him coming was to remove the burden of the earth. And I don't know if that's mentioned in this purport or previous purport, but I think it was said, or maybe the next one, but it was mentioned that the burden of the earth was, it's mentioned in the next purport, but it's saying how the burden of the earth, it isn't the mountains and all these different things like that, but what is he here? But it's so the earth, so the earth didn't become overburdened by the mountains and all these different things and all these different people, but it was overburdened by dharmaglani, or irregular discharge of the Lord's desires. And so that's tapping into Giri's reservoir of nectar for when he gives class. But so that's how the earth becomes overburdened. So there was a lot of irreligion going on at that time, and so Krishna arranged for the battlefield of Kurukshetra to happen to shed off all this irreligion and to establish Dharma as his duty, coming down as the Yuga avatar. And there's this, what is this? Krishna. It's like partially there, but there's that Paritranam Sadhunam Vedaschara Duskritam Dharma Samstarpanataya. So Krishna comes and he establishes Dharma, millennium after millennium, and that's the one of the features of the Yuga avatar. Of course, Krishna is more than just a Yuga avatar, but he simultaneously fulfills the duties of the Yuga avatar when he comes down. Just like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more than a Yuga avatar, but they fulfill those duties. He uses some side points. So this verse in particular today is highlighting Duryodhana. And there's so much that can be said about this. I was thinking one side point just in the purport. And it's actually amazing. But it's that Krishna wasn't happy to see the scene actually of Duryodhana on the ground dying with his leg smashed. That was his duty. He came to do that. But Prabhupada makes the point. It's what is this? It's like it's inconceivable in the sense that he came to do that, and that's what he wanted. That was a desire. But for reading that, we can understand what does Krishna say? Aham bija padam pita, that he's the father of all living entities. So naturally, the father, if a son is caught and he's tried in court and he did something wrong, like if a father has 5 sons. And then one of those sons goes off, becomes wicked, and then he's a murderer, then he's caught, and then he's tried. He's naturally unhappy that his son is being, convicted of this felony, but at the same time he is happy because, he did some wrong and that this is the laws of the state. So Krishna doesn't want living entities to be, separate or against his will. But if they are so, then according to the laws of the material world, they have to be punished. And so as Prabhupada says here, he's harder than the thunderbolt for the wrongdoer and softer than the rose for the faithful. So the wrongdoer is misled by bad associates and ill advice. And so Prabhupada makes the point that Krishna understands that these living entities are his parts and parcels. And so he has that is there also. That's kind of more the overlying feature. But if a living entity does something wrong, then they have to be punished to be corrected. So in that perspective, he's unhappy with Duryodhana. And it paints a completely different picture of God, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead versus, a lot of hardcore fanatics in religions today, that God is just taking pleasure and sending people to hell for eternity. We don't see that in this verse here, because definitely Duryodhana was fit candidate for hell. He did so many wrong things, but Krishna's not happy about that. Krishna's not taking pleasure in people suffering in hell like that. That is, he doesn't get some kick out of that. He's not, that's not where his happiness lies. Krishna's happiness lies in, Patram pushvam palam toyam yomid bhaktya parashyati. His happiness lies in offerings of devotion and love from his devotees and from the living entities. There's so many different points in the Shastra, actually. Maybe I'll just read something here. These are just side points. But let me just pull it up. There's so many different points in the Shastra and the Bhagavatam and things where Srila Prabhupada shows that Krishna is very anxious for us to come back home, back to Godhead. So I'll read a little bit here. This is from Gajendra Moksha, this pastime. So this is from 8th Canto, Chapter 3, Text 17. You don't have to pull it up. I'll probably just read part of it. But so anyways, only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he is always trying to deliver us. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshe arduna tishtati. He is within our hearts, and he is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer our prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. Therefore, this verse says, and then Bruri karunaya namo lalayaya. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. God is liberated, and he tries to make us liberated. But although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Sarva dharman parityaja mame kam sharanam vraja. Nonetheless, he has not become angry. Therefore, he is described here as Brui Karunaya, unlimitedly merciful in delivering us from this miserable material condition of life and taking us back home, back to Godhead. So the Shastra gives a completely different view of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so we can see that like this, Krishna he came, that was his duty and everything. And Duryodhana also, he wasn't innocent. He did some wicked things, which we'll kind of go a little bit into Duryodhana now. So I'll read here from, this is just a section from, what's it called? Burijan Prabhu's book, Surrender Unto Me, because he kind of talks a little bit about Duryodhana. So, just reading from that. So, Duryodhana, however, was especially afraid of Bhima's fiery temperament and expertise in fighting. Therefore, he mentions his name first. So this is, and I think this is 1:4, the fourth verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhima was furious with Dhritarashtra's son. Before the battle, he took 3 vows. First, he vowed to kill each of Dhritarashtra's 100 sons. And then there's a little note here. So pretty much that note says that, if any of the Pandavas had the opportunity to kill Dhritarashtra's son, they wouldn't do it to allow Bhima to fulfill his vow. So secondly, he vowed to break Duryodhana's thigh. When Draupadi was being insulted, Duryodhana uncovered his thigh and motioned to Draupadi, saying, "Come and sit on my lap. You are fit for my enjoyment." Bhima burned with anger for 13 years. He had been burning as he waited to destroy the Kauravas. And then this is Bhima's third vow, and this mentions Dushasana, who's also mentioned here today. So third, Bhima vowed to tear open Dushasana's chest, pry out his heart, and drink his blood. Dushasana had touched and opened Draupadi's tied and sanctified hair. For that, Bhima also vowed to rip off his arm. Draupadi had promised to keep her hair untied until she washed it with Dushasana's blood. Bhima later carried that blood upon his hands to Draupadi. So a little bit of some Vaishnava compassion there. Anyways, it's a different kind of mood, but that is bona fide. They're pure devotees. It may be hard to understand all that, but that's their mood, their bhakti to Krishna, and they're playing that role as Kshatriyas. So 2 things specifically here. So this one thing, I guess just one thing. So the point is that Duryodhana wasn't, and there's so many other things too. He tried to kill the Pandavas so many times and trick them and usurp the kingdom. It was, he's a wicked guy. And we can see here, the next picture there, I was looking at this morning, where you can see was Duryodhana with his knee showing. And it's really crazy actually that it's like, that was, from so many perspectives, that was like completely low class, first of all. Because we see that with the pastime with, Shiva and Parvati. That Chitraketu was kind of like, in a joking way, he was kind of like, what is this? Like, you got like your wife on your lap and all these like sages are here, like it looks funny. And he was kind of like poking at that. And generally, not generally, but in culture, society, any intimacy, even like wife and husband holding hands, they don't do that in public. So what to speak of like another man's wife and, Duryodhana is saying, come on, get on my lap. It's like crazy. It's completely like low class. And he was just, is lusty demon. And so anyways, so that really fired out Bhima. And there's a whole, this tension between Duryodhana and Bhima, which was being mentioned here, was carried on for years. So Duryodhana was a nasty fellow. And there's so many different details and things like that I'm unfortunately I don't know, so I can't pull them out and bring them all out. But anyways, I'll try the best I can. And we see also too, so the Uddhava is making the point here, it is important for us to know, and I'll kind of get back to this later, so he became befriended of his fortune, duration of life. Pretty much he got bad advice. And he was wicked at heart also, so he's attracted to that bad advice. So, and he mentioned here was Karna, Dushasana, and Sobala. So he got bad advice. And he did get the opportunity to get good advice, but he rejected that good advice. Vidura tried to give some good advice. And then others too, that advice was given. to give the Pandavas just some little bit of land, and he was refusing to do that. And he's famous. He said, "I won't give them enough land to put a pin drop in or whatever." So but we can see that bad advice can actually destroy our life. And then also too, because of that bad advice, he committed Vaishnava aparad, and that completely reduced the duration of his life, and he lost everything because of that. And I was thinking too, anyways, we'll read about that, but him showing his thigh also, Krishna's, Trikalagya, he sees past, present, and future. So we'll read a little bit later, but he knew, I'm assuming, Krishna knew that, and so he gave, Duryodhana that instruction to cover himself when he went to Gandhari, so that his thigh that he showed could be nice and primed to be broken later. So I'll lead into that now. So I'll read from a lecture from Srila Prabhupada where he talks about how Duryodhana, because Duryodhana, it's important to know, I mean, he had some special Shakti. So I'll read from this here, but his body it's described was like iron, which means it was like he had some special benediction to where it wasn't, like he was getting hit with the club by Bhima, which we'll read in a little bit, and getting smashed with that club, and he would just get back up. It wasn't like, whatever. Well, that's Jarasundar, actually. But anyway, sorry. But but he was getting, anyway, that's they were fighting like that. But it wasn't that, his bones were getting crushed or anything like that. He had some special benediction. So that special benediction I'll read now as follows. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So a class that Srila Prabhupada gave. You can pull this verse up actually. So Canto 1, Chapter 7, text 13 to 14, because I'll read that translation eventually. So, and then September 12th, 1976 in Vrindavan. So the story is that Gandhari, the mother of Duryodhana, she was a great chaste woman. Because her husband was blind, she used to remain as blind woman, covering the eyes. But she had some power. Chaste woman, anyone who sticks to the regulative principles, she gets a power, spiritual or material. And so, and he gets power, a brahmacharya gets power if he follows brahmacharya. So everyone, if we follow the prescribed rules and regulations, automatically you become powerful. So that's important right there in so many ways. That Prabhupada's making the point that if you follow brahmacharya or chastity, then you get some material power or some spiritual power. So that's super important to note actually. And that's important as, practicing Krishna consciousness, that those things are followed. And that helps also with the practicing of Krishna consciousness. In and of themselves, chastity and brahmacharya, without Krishna consciousness, there may be some material benefit, but anything without Krishna consciousness is just a bunch of zeros, and Krishna consciousness is what gives it that one. So that's very important. So continuing. So Gandhari had some power. So her eldest son, Duryodhana, was advised to see the mother naked. She advised, "My dear son, tomorrow morning when you come to offer your obeisances to me, you come naked. I shall see you, and you will be solidified just like iron." So he was going naked, and Krishna saw. So he asked him, "Where are you going?" So he's going naked, and this, obviously, what's going on here? Krishna knew already. And this is so I'm going to see my mother. And Krishna, how is that? You were going naked. At least, have some longota. This is not good. So he's like, at least, put on some kopin, man. So he took the instruction of Krishna and covered the private part with the longota. And when Gandhari saw, she saw that he was not fully naked. So she regretted. "Oh, my dear son, I asked you to come before me naked. Why have you got this?" No, Krishna advised. Then she began to smile, that my attempt is failure. So Krishna knew it. That part which was covered, that was not turned iron. The other parts turned into iron on account of seeing by Gandhari. So in this fight, Krishna had hinted Bhima that you strike here. This part is not ironized. Although it is against the regulative principles to strike the opponent party below the waist, Krishna advised that unless you transgress that law, you cannot kill him. So he was stroken below the waist, and he was not killed, but his waist was broken. Therefore, it is said, Vikodaravidya Gadam Bimarsha. Then he died. So anyway, this is mentioned here. So Banoro Dande, Bhagna Uru Danda was broken. And then you have this verse up. So Prabhupada's giving the situation there. So Duryodhana was tricked. And we see also that too with Hiranyakashipu. He thought like, I got this amazing plan. I'll never be killed. Ravana, I got this amazing plan. I'll never be killed. What the heck? A human ain't going to kill me anyway. I don't need a benediction about that. All the demons in society have these like amazing ideas. And we see that too. There's famously, I don't know if you know, it was Walt Disney. So when he died, I forget exactly, I think his brain or his body, he had that frozen. He was thinking that in the future when, technology, I guess Taba's telling me the head. So in the future when technology, of course, advance rapidly and gets to the point where, they can revive dead people and all this and that, I'll be ready. And then I'll come back to life and continue my reign. And so so many people think like that. There was another person also, he was thinking, I remember hearing that go. I mean, there's so many stories, but he lived in a house and everything was like very much, sterilized and all these different things. Nobody could come in. He lived in a bubble or whatever. And he was thinking this way I'll live forever, because you die by getting, bacteria, and then I won't be exposed to any bacteria. But obviously he died. So this is the nature of the conditioned soul, actually. Demons and also people that have poor fund of knowledge. Because the soul's internal, they want to exist forever. But you can't exist forever in the material world. Krishna explains this very clearly in Bhagavad Gita. The material body is temporary, and the spirit soul is eternal. There's no eternality in the temperance of the material world. So the body cannot last forever. But the living entities are trying to make arrangements. So anyways, Gandhari was thinking she's very intelligent and like that, but Krishna is the most intelligent. He's giving all intelligence. Someone who's giving all intelligence, how can you outwit them? It is impossible. Who's seeing past, present, and future and knows everything. What do we know? We don't know anything. So no matter what we do, it's, as the saying goes, Prabhupada would say, quoting his father in the Bhagavatam in that patime with Vritasura. But if Krishna has 10 hands and he wants to give us something, we don't have enough hands to refuse it. But if Krishna wants to take us something with his 10 hands, what can we do? There's nothing we can do about it. So Krishna's will is supreme in all circumstances, and things go on according to his desire. So, and now I'll read this verse here. So this verse, Prabhupada gives a class on it, and immediately when I read this verse today, I thought about this. For some reason, this verse is just etched into my head of Pradumna reading the translation for the class. So with the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations. And when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimasena, so the son of Dronacharya, Ashvatthama, beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered them as a prize to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act and was not, move it up a little bit, I can't see, and was not pleased in the least. So there's a lot that can be said about this verse, but specifically that scene of Duryodhana just laying on the ground, just, suffering pretty much, actually. And, anyways, that's mentioned in the Mahabharata. I'm not going to read about that because I don't. Anyways, you can read about that, but it's actually, he got what he deserved, but it's a gruesome scene. He's laying on the ground suffering and like screaming practically. And so anyways, it's a gruesome scene, but unfortunately, he did it to himself. So let's see here. So also too, just during this fight, I don't know if it's mentioned in this, but so there's also this element here too of Balaram, because I have this thing here. I won't really read through it, but so Balaram came. He was on pilgrimage and he came to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he saw that day with the fighting going on between Bhima and Duryodhana. And so another name of Balaram is Duryodhana Guru, because he taught Duryodhana how to fight with the club. He taught him the technique and things like that. And so it's well known, many people know that Duryodhana, he's more expert in technique than Bhimasena, but Bhima is stronger. And so Bhima was stronger, he had better expertise, so they were equally matched. And so Balaram, he came and he saw that, and he wanted them to stop fighting, but it was like not going to happen. And it's mentioned that they were silent, that they didn't say anything because they didn't want to offend him, but they were like, it was like the heat of the battle, the fumes were going, it was like they've both been waiting to kill each other. And it was like there wasn't like any like, it was kind of like beyond, it was the point of no return. It wasn't like, okay, now we're going to listen. It was like they're ready to fight. And it's according to Dharma also. Kshatriya can fight and they can kill each other. That's proper. But of course, then you can say, well, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's saying to stop, and then to carry out the orders of Krishna or Balaram, that is bhakti. But then Krishna also wanted, and then it gets like complicated and things like that. So that's the little intricacies there, which I'm not going to really get so much into that now in this class. But so then he came and he asked him to stop fighting, and then he saw that it wasn't going to happen, and then he left and he went back to Dwarka. So I'll read some here. It's a little, I wouldn't say it's not that, it's a little lengthy, but I'll read some of this pastime, or this fighting between Duryodhana and Bhima. So let me pull it up here. And let's see. So I'll read that now. So this is from the Mahabharata, I believe chapter 27, part 2. So let's see here. So this is kind of just starting through. So they have already been fighting. So anyways, they've been fighting, and like I mentioned, so they were like, yeah, Krishna Dharmas. You can bring, so if you want, I'll say a couple things. So the paragraph I'm starting from is as they circled. Anyways, before this, they were already fighting super intensely, and like I mentioned, it was described that like Bhima, he like took his club and like smashed it on the shoulder of Duryodhana. And it's described that he hit him so hard that hit would have destroyed a mountain peak, but Duryodhana hit the ground and he got back up, and they were thinking, what the heck is this? Like this guy is like, it's like crazy, it's like superhuman, and it just like he was just so powerful, and they were not stopping, and they were both hitting each other. And we'll read here. You have it there? Okay, you got it. And it's just like blood was like coming down, and then we'll read that they were fighting so intensely they broke the armor. It was one heck of a fight. We don't see fights like that nowadays. Usually people throw a couple punches and they stop. And then whatever, the cops come, and then they run away. But anyways, we'll start here. So as they circled, Arjuna said quietly to Krishna, "Who do you think is superior in this contest, O Janardhan? What is their respective merit?" Arjuna himself, an accomplished mace fighter, felt anxious for Bhima. He had also noticed Duryodhana's apparent invulnerability and could not see how Bhima would overpower him. It seemed as if the Kauravas had the upper hand, but Krishna, who had saved Arjuna from many such situations, would surely know what to do. So it's amazing here. There's so much that can be said about all this. Krishna vowed not to fight, but he gave so much intelligence, which in fighting also, there's a lot that can be said, but intelligence is also needed. Do you know how to arrange the opponents, how to fight, what things to do, things like that. It's like, just to have brute strength in and of itself is not just indicative that one will win the war. Intelligence is also needed. And Krishna's reservoir of all intelligence, so he showed, do like this, do like that. Krishna replied with a slight smile, "These two have received equal training. Bhima is stronger, but Duryodhana's skill is greater, and he has practiced much more. He has also been blessed by his mother's ascetic power, making the contest uneven. Bhima will not win a fair fight, but if he resorts to unfair tactics, he will be victorious. Deceit in battle is acceptable against a deceitful foe. Even Indra used defeat to overcome the mighty asuras, Virochana and Vritra." Watching as the two combatants rushed against one another, Krishna reminded Arjuna of Bhima's promise to break Duryodhana's thigh, a promise which was later reinforced by Maitreya's curse. He made it clear that this was the only way Bhima could gain victory. "The Pandavas have again been placed in a perilous position due to Yudhishthira's fault," Krishna continued. The learned Shukra has stated that the remnant of a defeated army, railed and returned to the fight, are always to be feared, being desperate and fixed in their determination. Duryodhana had lost everything and was ready to enter the forest. Yudhishthira should not have challenged him. Now Bhima must surely use unfair means to end this fight, otherwise the kingdom will again be lost, O hero. Krishna knew that Bhima was endeavoring to defeat Duryodhana by fair means before fulfilling his vow of breaking the prince's thigh. Arjuna understood this his meaning, and catching Bhima's eye, he slapped his thigh. Bhima nodded slightly in understanding. This must be a message from Krishna. He had not wanted to strike Duryodhana below the belt until he was overpowered, but perhaps there was no alternative. The Kaurava was fighting with demoniac fury, exhibiting every skill and showing no sign of fatigue. Nor did it seem possible to make any impression on him, no matter how hard he was struck. Krishna's advice was his only chance. Bhima moved about rapidly in front of Duryodhana, displaying his maneuvers and baffling his foe. Duryodhana, in turn, showed the full range of moves described in the ancient martial scriptures. The two men met savagely, their mace colliding with showers of sparks and huge cracks that momentarily deafen the observers. So it's so loud. It's like, you imagine like lightning, thunder or something like that. You know, it's like loud. It's like, hear something loud. It's like almost like painful. And then they're hitting so hard, there's sparks. It's like, it's, you know, it is intense. They fought like a pair of maddened tigers, sweat pouring from their faces and blood running down their bodies. Again, separating, they stood for some moments to lean on their maces and regain their breath. Then they flew at one another with great yells. Both had smashed the other's armor and now fought only in their loincloths. Their well-muscular frames gleamed in the late afternoon sun as they swung and lunged and parried. Taking a step backwards, as if to avoid Duryodhana's mace, Bhima suddenly hurled his weapon at the Kaurava, keeping a hold of its sling. So he threw his weapon, and it seems like there's like a string there, so he was able to pull it back. So Duryodhana anticipated the blow and sidestepped. Catching Bhima with his arm outstretched, he struck him with a powerful blow on his side. Bhima was winded, but showed no sign, summoning his patience and pulled back his mace. Duryodhana did not realize that his opponent was disadvantaged. Exercising caution, he did not aim a second stroke at him. Bhima, recovering, narrowed his eyes and rushed forward. He swung his mace, and as he expected, Duryodhana leapt upwards in a mover known as Avastana. So and then he jumped up. So Bhima suddenly stopped in front of Duryodhana and swung his mace chest high in a rapid arc. So then he swung like that. And as the Kaurava dropped back to the ground, he was struck across the thigh. The blow carried the momentum of Bhima's forward dash. So forward, Bhima's already strong as like 10,000 elephants, as well as the full power of his two arms. Bhima's mace, which could only be lifted by 3 strong men, smashed Duryodhana's thigh as a thunderbolt breaking a pair of huge trees. The ground shook as Duryodhana fell flat, screaming. He lay there writhing in pain. It was obvious that the fight was over. All the Pandava forces roared in joy. Yudhishthira embraced his brothers, and Krishna applauded Bhima. So you can see that I was talking with Giri yesterday, but it's just like there's so many things, but people get hit by like cars or like a truck or something, and it's like, it like can ruin. It can just destroy like your whole body and like completely like kill you. And Duryodhana was hit with this mace, which was like was definitely stronger than getting hit by a semi-truck. Bhima's so powerful, and he swung that thing and just like smashed and just like destroyed him completely. And then as we understand from the verse that we read, it was also his spine was broken. It seems like he completely shattered his bones. He got him in his weak spot. And only by the mercy of Krishna, did he even know of that? Who would have known? As Krishna told him, do like that. And only, Duryodhana knew probably, and his mother, Gandhari. But then it wasn't like they were like telling everybody. They wanted to keep that secret that actually he wasn't invincible. but he brought upon that about himself with his wicked mentality. So in this way, Duryodhana was slain. And so I have a couple more things to say. I'll sum up the point very much so. But so Srila Prabhupada makes a point here, which is also important in this purport, and it's important for us to understand and keep advice on. But he mentions the point about bad association and ill advice. And this is being attributed to the scene of Duryodhana, one of the reasons of him being in the situation he is in so much pain, suffering, and being completely defeated, humiliated, and all these different things. And so bad advice is completely, can ruin our lives actually in Krishna consciousness, bringing kind of some of these points home. Bad association also can ruin our lives in Krishna consciousness. So in Krishna consciousness, it's important to have good association, of course. It's important to have good association and good advice. And it's also important to have a friend in Krishna consciousness who can be a little critical of us as a friend. Because the thing is, Duryodhana was getting good advice, but people who were critical of him, he wasn't really willing to hear it. And we see that with Ravana also. So many times he was told, give Sita back. What the heck is this? Give her back, give her back. So many people told him. And he was saying, what the heck? No. He wasn't. And then so much so when, Vibhishana, he pretty much was, get out of here, throw him, pretty much threw him out. He was chastised him like anything. Indra did also. They were so disturbed with him. Vidura also was giving some good advice. And Duryodhana was, get out of here. You're just some, whatever. He criticized him. You son of a maidservant. You're not even fit to be. We're maintaining you. This and that. Who the heck are you? Get out of here. So good advice is helpful, but good advice also may not be so much to our taste sometimes in Krishna consciousness, and it's needed even also on the communal level. Brahminical criticism is helpful and is needed. Because a Brahmana, it's understood, he's speaking the truth. He has no personal desire. It's not like he's speaking this, that, and the other thing because, he's trying to pull politics and, get nice with you or tell you this and that so then, he can get your position. It's not like that. So that is helpful. A lot of things can be said about these things. We're giving some general stuff. And from our position, it can be difficult to find that, and it can also be difficult to accept that. Because generally it's, and I've seen in my life also that if someone is saying something that we don't want to hear, it can, it's like, I don't really want to hear that. Or if they're saying something about us that, what you're acting like is not good or what you said is not good, and we think we have we have millions of ways to justify it. We have more slokas than the Mahabharata to justify why we're doing what we're doing and how we're not wrong. And so it can be difficult. But the thing is that we should have faith in that person and trust that this person is instructing or whatever for my benefit, and I should take to that, or I should consider that, or I should apply that. And because that's natural, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted. If we say things, if we have an idea, we want that to, people to recognize that or whatever, and we think we want things to be easy because things are difficult if there's someone there that's telling us what you did is wrong or what you're saying is wrong or you have this misconception or that misconception or whatever it may be. It can make life difficult if we have some plan that I want to do this thing, I want to go to just example. I want to take a traveling synchrotron trip to California and distribute books in Los Angeles and the Smoky Mountains, and I want to, go all the way to California. And then, the synchrotron lady may say, well, why do you want to go to California? I mean, you could just go to the airport; it's just as good, and then like that, you're going to waste so much money on gas and this and that. And no, I don't want to hear it. I want to go to California. I'm going to do so many books. And they're trying to give good advice, like don't go to California to distribute books. It's not going to be good. Don't go to that spot. It's not going to be good. It's going to rain. No. I'm gonna go. This is what I'm going to do. And then you go, and then on the way, you go, and then you do worse, and you get popped at the event, and then it's like there's nothing else to do, and then you get a flat tire, and then it rains, and all the books get wet, and then the books fall off the U-line, and then whatever, and then someone buys a book, but then they want to return it, and then it's just like a whole thing. Or we just waste a lot of time. or whatever. And then general things, whatever. Don't sleep during japa, you're wasting your time, and then whatever. It can be difficult to hear those things sometime. And it's not that it's needed that someone's at our case at every second of the day, like we have someone there, and then every time we do something wrong, and then they're just like watching, like come out from like the darkness or something, like, whatever. We're going to bed at night and we do something, and then someone, they come out of the covers like, hey, like, what are you doing there? What are you reading or whatever? It's 9:31. You should be sleeping, or something like that, or whatever. Lights out, or whatever it is. Or hey, you had one extra grain of rice. You know what Prabhupada said about overeating, things like that's not. That's not what's needed, but it's helpful, and whatever. It's important, but it's necessary that for someone to be there. If we say something stupid or if we act out of line, someone can say, hey, like, you're being stupid. Or if we say something that's inappropriate or something that's wrong, like, if I'm speaking now and if I say something which is contrary to Shastra and Guru, and, or whatever, I act in such a way which is different, it's not okay. And it's not that, that it's fine, it's okay, and, then whatever, he's been a devotee for so many years and he's initiated, so whatever he does is fine. And that's not the case. If someone is behaving inappropriately or saying things which are contrary to Shastra, then that should be addressed. And there's different ways to address that, of course. And we see that in the Srimad Bhagavatam when Brahma became attracted to his daughter. Some of the rishis approached him and, very humbly and said, what is this? We haven't seen this in the past, and we're having a tough time understanding, what it is that you're doing. And so he understood, like, oh my God, like, I'm supposed to be, I'm the head of the universe, and, I'm doing this act. And then he gave up his subtle body, and he atoned for that. It wasn't that he was thinking, I'm Brahma, I created you. I'm creator of this material world, all of this I've created. Who the heck are you? It wasn't like that, It's like, I created her. She's my daughter. I can do what I want. I'm speaking Vedas. You think I don't know Vedas? Brahma wasn't acting like that. He understood, because there's different ways of understanding that. But he understood, and he had that, and so they approached him also according to the proper etiquette, and so like that. And then he was adjusted, and then also speaking something. Just like this verse here is talking about, Duryodhana and how he got bad advice, and then what if I were to sit up here and say, well, actually they gave good advice, and Karna and Dushasana and Duryodhana was, he was treated wrong, and all this nonsense, saying something like that. That should be addressed, not that, this, that, and the other thing. That it's the point is that Shastra is the center. So the Vaishnavas, in the Guru is, the Shastra is the meter by which both of those things are judged. And the Guru speaks according to the Shastra, and the Vaishnavas also, the devotees. And so that is important to know that. And we see also, just speaking on, I don't actually think I need to quote that, but I can skip. So anyways, and then also too, and then someone would be saying so many different things or doing so many different things that may not be appropriate. And I won't elaborate. You can use your imagination. And then, doing such and such thing, and then saying something along the lines of like, I can't fall down, which is not a good thing to say. And that's also symptomatic of a wrong understanding, because it's understood that at any moment we could fall down by the influence of the material energy. It's only by Krishna's mercy that we're able to withstand the pooling of Maya, and also that we're able to overcome, just like we see here with this pastime. Duryodhana who was going to overcome him? But Krishna gave the intelligence that this is the little way you get through. So Krishna gives us the intelligence that we may be tested by the material energy, and he shows that this is how you overcome it, by surrendering unto him. And he gives that intelligence, okay, this is how you overcome Maya. He gives that inspiration. He gives that help also. He helps, it's a huge thing, huge problem. Krishna can just, in 1 second, all these things we're struggling with, kick them away. Krishna may also, we may be struggling with so many things and not realize it. Krishna may bring that to our attention. That's also his mercy. We should see that too. If all these, material desires are coming up, then we could say that this is Krishna's mercy, bringing these things up to inspire me to take more seriously to the process of Krishna consciousness. Another angle at this too is that we may have good association and all these things, but we have to be careful and aware that this association is Krishna consciousness, that we're acting Krishna consciousness, and this association is helping us to become more Krishna conscious, and we are helping them to become more Krishna conscious. And a famous story in regards to this is with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's this story, it's called Rowing Along the Wind. He gives a purport to that, but the one understanding of that also is, so that story pretty much, for those that don't know, is that there was a king, and so he had one servant, and he was asking him, pretty much like, tell me something about this vegetable, potato. And so, and then the servant was like, well, what do you think? He's like, I think it's like okay vegetable. And then the servant goes on, that potato is amazing vegetable. You can make mashed potato masala, and you can put that in dosa. You can deep fry it. You can make aloo bundi, and you can serve that with tamarind chutney. You can do so many things with potato. It's like amazing. You can deep fry it. You can stir fry it. So many things. You can smash it up on a codicy and add it to preps, and then like that, it gives it the starch to hold it together. And the king's like, I don't really like mashed potatoes that much. And he's like, potato's worst vegetable. So he just said all these things glorifying potato, and then the same thing goes on, does the same thing with eggplant. So the point is that we shouldn't be like that in Krishna consciousness. That if a devotee says something and behaving in such a way that we just, devotee's like, oh, I feel like, so many things they may say. Well, what do you think about, I'm thinking of, I'm trying to give some example. But I'm thinking of staying up all night and, reading philosophy books about Aristotle. And we think, well, Aristotle's so great. I mean, he's practically on the level of Srila Prabhupada. Like, the wisdom he gives is amazing. In fact, I'll stay up all night with you and read Aristotle. It's like, he shouldn't be like that. And so there should be like some discrimination. And we should also be wary, too, in Krishna consciousness, if we have association, which is everything we say, which are just, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're absolutely right. Because I've had experience of that also. And I recognized that one time, I won't give all the details of the situation, but there was some conflict between me and another devotee. And I felt that I was wrong in the situation. And so I brought that to some other devotees. And they were telling me, oh, actually, no, you're right. What you did was right. He's wrong, this, that, and the other thing. I was saying, no, actually, like what I did was wrong. So how do I make it better? And they were saying, no, you were right what you did. And it was obvious what I did was wrong, but I understood that actually wasn't good instruction in that circumstance. They were telling me that I was right just because they liked me a lot. And I understood. It was just from an affectionate platform that I couldn't do anything wrong. So we should be wary of that and understand that. And there are tricky things and how to figure all that out. We have to pray to Krishna, and we should be introspective, like that. And it can be difficult to navigate all those things, but that's why it's important to have faith in somebody who we trust, and we know that this person does the only thing this person has no desire. He doesn't want anything from me, but he wants something from me. What does he want from me? He wants me to become Krishna conscious. That's what it means to be desireless, as Prabhupada makes so many times in his different books. And and I'll read one last thing here. But just having on the subject of good association, and then also just making bad choices and like that. Let me see here. Just real quick, because the thing is that we can have good association and get good advice and good criticism, but still even not take it. And so I'll read something here. So this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you want to bring it up, you can. You don't have to. But this is Madhya Lila, chapter 10, text 65. I'll read from the purport. And so just while he's bringing that up, so this is in relation to Kalki Prabhu, who traveled with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's mentioned in the previous chapter when they were traveling that Kalki Prabhu, 1065. So Kalki Prabhu became allured by some gypsy women. There was this tribe, I forget exactly what they're called. I think it's mentioned here. Anyways, I'm not seeing it exactly. But there was this tribe of Bhattaharis. They were like kind of renunciates. They had the dress of renunciates. And anyways, their plan was like they would find people, allure them with women into their camp, and then like whatever, make them part of their team, I guess. And then in that way they like made a living. And so anyways, so they did this to Kalki Prabhu, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went and brought him back and took him out of Maya. And then when he came back, he was fried out. He was like, he sent me this guy with me to travel with me, but he just ran off with some women. So like, he's not coming with me again. And then he was like devastated. But then, as mentioned at the purport here, that that he got another chance in a different way. So I'll read the purport. So Kalki Prabhu was influenced and allured by nomads or gypsies who enticed him with women. Maya is so strong that Kalki Prabhu left Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company to join gypsy women. He's personally with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Probably the best association you could probably get, right? And he gave that up to teach us a lesson. Even though a person may associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can be allured by Maya and leave the Lord's company due to his slight independence. Only one who is overwhelmed by Maya can be so unfortunate as to leave Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Yet, unless one is very conscientious, the influence of Maya can drag one away, even though he be the personal assistant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what to speak of others? The Bhattaharis used to increase their numbers by using women to allure outsiders. This is factual evidence showing that it is possible at any time to fall down from the Lord's association. One need only misuse his little independence. Once fallen and separated from the Supreme Personality of God's association, one becomes a candidate for, what do you become a candidate for? You become a candidate for suffering in the material world. All right, here's your ticket. Although rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kalki Krishnadas was given another chance, as the following verses indicate. So there's a couple of important points mentioned there. But Prabhupada makes the point, being conscientious, paying attention to detail, and also not misusing our independence. So those are important points. So we should be conscientious, look at the details. There's a saying in English that the devil's in the details. So we should be very attentive to our cultivation of Krishna consciousness, of what we're saying, what we're speaking, how we're associating with devotees. We have good association. So then we should utilize that good association, be good of association ourselves. Because we see even in who could be better association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's like, a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can, but it's like, that's pretty high up there. It's like, you want to associate with Bhakta Bab or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's like probably more people will choose Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some will, I want to associate with Bhakta Bab. Not that there's anything wrong with Bhakta Bab, but generally, we understand it's like Shakshat Hari, not Shakshat Hari, but this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So it's, so that's good association. But even having that good association, if we misuse our independence, or, we can, made the point here, we could be taken away by Maya. So we have to have good association. We have to get good advice in that situation also. I mean, I'm sure, in that situation. I mean, he went away with his mind. And what's it called? Rishabhdev makes the point, and fifth canto, 6th chapter. I forget which verse exactly. I think verse 8. But he makes the point that the mind is the root cause of lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, all these different things. And then his conclusion is, well-learned person will put his faith in the mind. So Kalki Krishnadas put his faith in his mind. This is there to teach us. This is a lesson. And the results of that. So if we put our faith in our mind, if we're getting bad advice, badly associating with the mind also, generally problems result as a result of that. So anyways, this is important for us to learn, and we can learn this by the life of Duryodhana, someone who got bad advice, and that's there mentioned also. But good advice given, as we see with the Pandavas, they were able to overcome so many obstacles. And then there's that verse also that I always mention. I think it's 10:1. I think it's 4-8 or something like that. But it's being mentioned there that the Pandavas were able to overcome so many different obstacles, just like the 10th canto, chapter 1. Let me see. But anyways, what? Oh no, it's towards the beginning. Yeah, that's it, 5-7. But anyways, this verse mentions, I really like this verse. I'll just read it exactly. So, taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. Because my mother surrendered on the Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord, Sudarshan Chakra in hand, entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus, and the Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashvatthama. Lord Sri Krishna, appearing within and outside of all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the form of eternal time, that is, as Paramatma and Vishvarup, gave liberation to everyone, either as cruel death or as life. Kindly enlighten me by describing his transcendental characteristics. So I like that verse, and it's very applicable. So if we take shelter of Krishna, he will help us cross over so many different obstacles in Krishna consciousness. And if we think things are difficult, it could be much more difficult. we can remember that. And if we need some inspiration, if we think our life is very difficult, and we go on book distribution and distribute books, and then we'll see what people's situation really is and how fortunate we really are. And then we'll be inspired to be thankful for the situation we're in, and then we'll be also inspired to give others the chance to take up to Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop there if there's any questions or comments about anything. Yes. Yeah.
One point about faith, that like when we can lose the faith for Krishna or some devotees, bad association will come.
Yeah.
And what happened with Dvivida?
Mm.
And actually, because of bad association, now he was killed by Balaram.
Yeah.
But previously, you can see in the battlefield when who pierced him when many arrows? Indrajit or Ravana himself? He pierced Lakshman.
Yeah, I think Indrajit.
And Lakshman was on the ground. He's lying down on the ground, almost died. And Vivida saw this and he thinking, how it's possible?
Yeah.
Lakshman is the supreme personality of Godhead.
Yeah.
And now he almost killed by Ravana. He pierced and he lost his faith. And when he lost his faith, bad association is came. You can see this bad association is there, but before he lost his faith.
Mm.
And because of that, he became offensive to Balaram.
Mm.
It's like this.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anything else from everybody? Yes, Rishkumar Prabhu.
You did mention this about about like giving advice, and that even you're saying even if someone's in like a senior position, it's still good. I was just wondering like the dynamic of who should give advice to who and when, and like that, like who's qualified to give advice to who.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on the situation and everything like that. For example, like a devotee may be new in the temple for like a month or two, but he may be an expert car mechanic. And so we can take advice from him about things from the car, if the car's breaking down. It's not like, hey, you've been here for like a month, who the heck are you? Like, I've been here for 10 years, 20 years. Like, what do you know about like, who are you? Like, it's like, that's a little crazy. So they could take like advice. Like if someone like genuinely like knows better than us, I mean, that's described, I think, by like Chandakapani. I think he says like, person who can, he talks about like getting good advice, but like that's mentioned, like one can get like, I forget exactly, but he mentions that like a quality of somebody that can get good advice from like anywhere pretty much. So that's there. We may be practicing Krishna consciousness, and we like, let's say we're senior, and we're doing something that's objectionable, and then some junior comes, and then like, hey, like that. We should take that. It depends. So like it depends on the circumstance. Like if a senior does something like small, like we shouldn't be getting on people's cases about every single thing. Like if I'm just maybe I don't know, I can't think of an example, but it's something small. Whatever. Maybe like they don't like wash their plate properly. It's not like, oh, Prabhu, like I noticed like you're not cleaning your plate properly when you take prasadam. Like I think you could do a better job at that. Not like that kind of stuff. That's kind of like that's like small stuff, and then that'll just kind of get annoying. But if it's like something serious that we feel or others feel, and then there's could be some discussion, like Prabhu, I saw like such and such devotee, senior devotee, he's not chanting his rounds. Like I'm concerned, and then like, oh, you saw that, like we should speak to him. And like see what the situation is, like something like that, or like he's been up late, not coming to Mangalarti. Like, is everything okay? And I'm having some health problem. Okay, like can I help you? Not like in a condescending way that like like I'm coming to Mangalarti every day and like you're not, so like or whatever, like things like that. But it's helpful because the thing is that we get power from association, and it's everybody will say that like, they have their things that they're struggling with and they're trying. And then that association we're in, there's people that are stronger in those areas and it can help us. So at the same time, we should also from, our perspective, we should be like seeing that and willing that and not get in the syndrome of thinking someone's junior, so therefore they have nothing to teach me or whatever, or people are senior, I have nothing to learn from them. Like we should be able to like associate with all the different, what did you say? Seniors, juniors, middle, we should associate with them accordingly. And that's symptomatic of someone who's like advanced in Krishna consciousness. They know how to behave. So we should like behave like that, and then that'll help us and like that. But there's like details and intricacies of that. But the main thing, it should come across in a humble way and not be like, have all this like, what's it called? Like this ego with it. So, someone else had something? Okay. Anything from the Mataji side? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.